Coming up on today's Locked On Senators, the road trip from hell continues. The Senators fell twice over the weekend, 5-4 in Dallas, 6-3 in Vegas. In both of those games, the other team's starting goalie left in the first period.
And we play the blame game. Who's to blame for this? The goalies, the coaches, the players, management, or us, the fans?
Well, when you can blame the fans, you may as well. We'll get into all that. Plus, are changes coming before the Christmas roster freeze? Elliot Friedman had some thoughts on that. We'll get into all that and more on today's edition of the Locked On Senators podcast. It's your team every day.
You're Locked On Senators, your daily podcast on the Ottawa Senators. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
I'm Jake Sanderson, and you're listening to Locked On Senators podcast.
I'm Tim Stützle, and you're listening to the Locked On Senators podcast.
Welcome inside episode 940 of the Locked On Senators podcast. I'm Ross Levitan on the outskirts of enemy territory in Winnipeg, Manitoba. Alongside Brandon Pillar up in the Blue Mountains. You can follow the show on social media. We're at Sens Central on Twitter, LockedOn.Senators on Instagram. The show is free and available on all podcast platforms, including on YouTube, where you can see two depressed faces doing their best to put lipstick on a pig. A like, comment, and subscription go a long way to helping the show grow. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase at Game Time. Lowest tickets, last-minute tickets at the best prices, guaranteed. Today's episode is on Monday, December 18th. And Pilsy, I would like to officially eliminate the Ottawa Senators from playoff contention.
We're doing that. That's how we're starting off this episode. I mean, Ross, I'm not going to argue with you. We're not math guys, so you could be correct mathematically. They could be eliminated, and I wouldn't be able to tell you whether you're right or wrong. But yeah, at this word, Ross, I wouldn't have even said that full sentence. I would have said P word contention, because we are so far away from the P words that we can't even spell out the whole word.
No, it's so bad right now. And look, it's never as good as it seems. It's never as bad as it seems. But the Ottawa Senators have 3 wins in their last 11 games, and are 2 of them in Europe?
Yes, in a different continent, yes. And look, a lot of people disagree with what DJ Smith says, but he said a little while ago, this is not rock bottom for the team. And he was right. And I don't want to be the bearer of bad news. Maybe this is going to be one of those kill the messenger type instances, Ross, but I got bad news for Sens fans. It's going to get worse. All Sens fans can do right now is buckle up, have some good times at the GCP, get your Shawarma Palace, deliver your farm to fork, go to Mary J's, get prepared to hunker down and eat all these L's. The L's are going to keep coming. It's snowball effect. They're going to keep coming because this management and this ownership group has made it very clear that they're not going to do anything. And you know what? If that's what they want to do, if they want to wait this year out and then they want to restart in the offseason and bring in a whole new crew to try to put their label on everything, I get that. But we've mentioned this so many times. Steve Staios and Michael Andlauer, they don't understand the pain and suffering that the Sens fans have been through, and honestly players even, and coaches have been through for the last 6 years. So for them, it's like, we'll get through this 1 year, not we'll get through this 7th year. So they're thinking long picture, but Sens fans are carrying the agony of this on our shoulders like Atlas with the weight of the world on us. And it's getting heavier and heavier and more depressing. And there's no light at the end of this tunnel, Ross, at least for now. Like for the rest of 2023, it will be no Christmas miracle. It's going to be depressing. It's going to be terrible. This road trip continues. It's not going to get better, is a roundabout way of what I'm saying. Hunker down, Sens fans.
So we're actually very lucky as fans because they've actually won 3 times since coming back from Europe. So some stick taps are in order. Some applause. The Ottawa Senators, 3 wins.
I'm not doing it.
They had the shutout win over the Kraken, 6-2 over the Rangers, and that 5-1 win over Detroit. But since that win against Detroit, a week Saturday, they've lost 4 in a row, back-to-back losses against teams that were coming off 4-game losing streaks.
Yep.
In Carolina and St. Louis. Then they go to Dallas. Jake Ottinger, one of the best goalies in the league, lets in 2 goals on 2 shots, gets hurt, pulled. Backup comes in. Scott Wedgwood mops it up. Senators give up a ton of unanswered goals in that game as well. 3 unanswered, including a shorthanded goal. And then Pilsy, guess what? Against Vegas, they answer, but they answer 5 straight Vegas goals way too late with 1 minute and 21 seconds left in the game. Call it the biggest garbage time goal you've ever seen. And
another shorthanded goal also, Ross.
Another shorthanded goal. A shorthanded goal on a breakaway. And not a breakaway where it's like, oh, bobbled puck at the blue line, like it's all the way breakaway. No. They meticulously carved up the defense and put a little through pass to Chandler Stevenson, who beats the defenseman back and scores on a breakaway.
Easily scores. Yeah. Like that. As soon as he got past the defenseman, I was putting in my notes Vegas goal. Like it's
easy.
There's no confidence with this team. And I mean, rightfully so. Like confidence is something you have to earn or fake. And you can only fake it for so long once the results start getting to you. And they can be sitting there being like, okay, we're doing our process. Like maybe we're not getting the results we want, but we're doing our process. But the process clearly isn't working at this point. And at some point, you would think there's got to be some change here, unless, like I mentioned, the ownership and management is just saying, for now, we're gonna slog through this and hope it gets better next season. Like I just feel so strongly that they've decided to punt on this season.
And it's really sad. One thing I can promise every listener out there, I will not be gassing up the Ottawa Senators this offseason. No matter what they do, I will not say that this is a playoff team, because we look like the biggest donkeys ever. Mm-hmm. We sat here all summer and said this year's going to be different. Heck, we pretty much did that last year too.
Yep.
2 strikes, you're out. I'm not going for the third one. They have to prove it at this point, because each year, I think the worst part, Pilsy, is both of the last 2 years, they dominate the home opener. They give fans this glimmer of what it could be with a long winning streak. 3 games this year, long. But their first 3 home games, both years, dominant. I think it was 4 straight, not this year, but last. Yep. So they show what it could look like when it's a good team. And then for some reason, when other teams make adjustments throughout the year, Ottawa's just stuck in that first gear where it's like, instead of looking for ways to fix things when they go wrong, they look for things to blame when they go wrong. We got the injuries excuse. We get the scheduling excuse. Oh, we don't play every other day, so it's tough. Now they play every day, and it's tough because guys have to come in and out of the lineup. It's like a catch-22. No matter what the situation is that the Sens are given, they find a way to discuss how it's not fair. It's not us. Like, it's just not fair. The schedule stinks.
Yeah, Ross, I feel like in my brain, I'm working on this analogy. It's like a car race, a bunch of cars. All the cars are getting stuck in the mud. The other cars are like, okay, we're stuck in the mud. Let's try using shovels. Let's throw some sand down. Let's switch the driver. Maybe it's a different driver. And all of them are getting out of the mud one way or another. And the Sens are in the mud in first gear, like you're talking about. And their team is just like, just keep hitting the gas. And the wheels are just spinning and spinning and spinning and spinning. And you're going nowhere. That's what's happening here, is the Sens, instead of trying to find a way out of the mud, they're just trying to push on the gas harder, and they're just spinning even more. They're just spinning their tires here as they're on a 4-game losing streak. And I feel pretty strongly that the Arizona Coyotes, are going to continue this slide for the Senators.
Well, yeah, we'll get to a full game day preview tomorrow. We've got some sort of just kink, I guess, Pilsy, that we enjoy having, like the worst things to talk about. It's episode 940, Pilsy. Yeah. It's episode 940. And I texted you this morning. I said, I don't know if there's anything I want to do less than break down this team. Like, this team is really, we have been told that we are toxically positive. And now this is me right now. This is me. I am the verbal meme. A smile might be good. No, there's nothing to smile about in my life.
Ain't
Like,
nothing to smile about as an Ottawa Senators fan. Yeah, Ross, I get a lot of people
that's
when
me. That's the same photo.
do the face. Nice. I get a lot of people when they I feel weird talking behind this guy. Let's get this guy out of here. I feel weird when people find out I have a podcast about the Sens as a job. They're like, oh, that's so cool. You get to talk about your team. You get to work from home. You get to, have fans on the show and talk to the players and stuff.
Hang out with me?
Yeah. It's not that cool to be an Ottawa Senators podcaster right now. It sucks.
But the people are passionate and we appreciate the heck out of you. We equally are, and we will be here every step of the way. We are not, we're not pulling the DJ Smith excuse card.
No, that's not where I was going at all. All I was saying is, in my mind, I really thought when I was a young student at the College of Sports Media, I put this sweater on to try to induce that wide-eyed, bushy-tailed sports broadcasting student.
That youthful exuberance.
Yeah, that youthful exuberance when we were doing Making Sense of the Sens in the basement, how excited we were talking about a team that's going on long playoff runs and how it's going to be like this all the time. Now,
dude, it was a year after the Hamburglar run when we started doing this thing.
Yeah, we thought things were going to be different. Let me say that. Now I'm a grizzled vet in my 30s. We've done 940 episodes without a single playoff game and not a sniff of the playoff game. And I got to pull out the thesaurus to find different ways to say we suck and this team's losing and this team's going to lose. And I have to sit here and broadcast in front of all my friends and hopeful Sens fans. And I have to tell them, stop it with that hope stuff. Stop it. It's not getting better. It's going to get worse. Find a way to numb through this pain. That's all I can really say. Whatever your way is, stick to that for a little bit. We're actually maybe not a little bit. For now, stick to those methods.
Hey, 2 first-round picks this summer, Pilsy. Maybe we'll get another star prospect back in the system. But here, there's a reason why Pilsy is so pessimistic about the rest of this season. We'll get to that after a quick word. This is Locked On Senators, your team every day.
Today's episode is brought to you by our friends over at Game Time. Guys, Game Time is the official ticketing app of the Locked On Podcast Network because buying tickets to your favorite events should not be stressful. Just get hyped for your event. Forget the stress because Game Time is the fast and easy way to buy tickets for all the sports, music, comedy, and theater near you. Don't want to watch the Sens? That's fine. Use Game Time to go watch your favorite concert. Go have a couple laughs. Check out the local theater. Whatever it is, you can find killer deals on last-minute tickets with a best price guarantee. Forget planning months in advance. Game Time has deals on tickets right up to the day of the event. Get exclusive flash deals on tickets for all the sports and entertainment you want. The Game Time guarantee means you'll always get the best price. In fact, if you find tickets in the same section in a row for less, Game Time is going to credit you 110% the difference. Get images of your seat before you arrive so you know exactly what to expect, and buy tickets in a matter of seconds. 2 taps, boom, tickets on your phone. It's that easy. So snag the tickets without the stress with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest prices guaranteed.
Today's episode is also brought to you by Shawarma Palace. Are you like me and like eating your feelings? Well, head to Shawarma Palace today because they are the perfect place to go when you need a little comfort food. At Shawarma Palace, you can get the platter where the freshest ingredients come together and create a rainbow of flavors in your mouth. When you hit the hummus in there, you get the garlic sauce, you get the fresh salad, you get the rice, you get the potatoes, you get the crispy potatoes on there with the garlic sauce. It is so delicious at Shawarma Palace. Did I forget the pickled turnips? No, never. I love the pickled turnips at Shawarma Palace. They even got the spicy garlic too. So if you want to get crazy, get in on that at Shawarma Palace. You can always find them. They even have the Sens deal That's a great way to go. If you have friends over, you want to get the Sens platter at Shawarma Palace, just make sure to visit Shawarma Palace at any of their 7 locations across Ottawa. The flagship store is on Rideau Street, right by Augustine Chapel, but they're also at Bank and Hunt Club, huge location at Bank and Hunt Club. They're also in Orleans, Saint Laurent Shopping Center, Carleton University. Oh, and if you want it brought right to you, go check them out on Uber Eats. It's delicious, it's affordable, and good luck not having leftovers if you get the platter. You can also grab a sandwich if you want to get it to go. But one thing's for sure, if you want to eat like a royal, go eat at Shawarma Palace. Big Head Hockey account tweet out that only one team, Pilsy, in the last, 15 plus, in the salary cap era, the 07-08 Washington Capitals made the playoffs when they had 15 plus losses through the first 26 games of the season. And the sample size, 42 teams have had that happen to them. One team made the playoffs.
Yeah, but it's not like the Washington Capitals had some sort of talent that bursted onto the scene at that time, eh?
Well, they did fire their coach.
Oh,
they did. And we tweeted out at Sens Central. We said, how would you fix the Ottawa Senators? And I'm going to get to a few of the replies here because some people actually went further than just fire DJ. And I understand the fire DJ thing. I do. A lot of better coaches have been fired for less. I get it. But Elliot Friedman on 32 Thoughts seemed to pour pour cold water on that whole fire DJ thing. Stability reigns supreme. And to your point about punting the season, it feels like the Ottawa Senators are doing just that. This is Elliot Friedman.
I've been telling you.
This is the quote. I'm right and you're wrong is the meme that the Anlauer, Steos, and Ryan Bonus trio are doing, where it's like, one guy standing with the sword and everyone else. I got a few other verbal memes I'd prefer to use, but basically saying they're trying to get to know everything about the organization before making decisions. They're trying to not make a coaching change before they are ready to do anything. It is tough for them right now. They have a vision and it is not going very well. End quote. Yeah, I'd say there's only games in hand be damned. This team stinks. Everything is wrong with this team. And there's nothing changing. There's nothing coming through the pipeline that's going to, change things that are going to go for the better in a quick manner. This team is dead last, and they're not only dead last in points. Screw your games in hand, Pilsy. They've got a 423 points percentage right now, which is dead last in the division, and it is only above the Columbus Blue Jackets in the Eastern Conference. That's the reality of the situation right now. If they were doing the draft lottery today, the Senators would have the 5th best odds at drafting first overall. This isn't not going very well. This is going as poorly as possible right now.
Yeah, the only way to put it is the Sens are grouped among a collection of teams that are doing their best to be bad.
And even some that are trying to be bad are far ahead of the Ottawa Senators.
Yeah.
May I point to you the Philadelphia Flyers, who are 17-10-3.
Yeah. The Sens are accidentally so bad. They just got so used to rebuilding and being terrible that's just morphed their identity into who they are, and now they're just terrible without even trying.
Well, what do you do to fix that? Is it a losing culture that we're getting to? Because it feels like every night there's a new way to lose. You want the goalies to make more saves, but I almost want, what? We're a goalie friendly show. I would like to apologize to any goalie that we've been hard on since 2018 for the Ottawa Senators. Since the Senators last made the playoffs, Pilsy, how many goalies do you think played for them?
Oh, God.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
Including
7 last year.
Including Danny Taylor.
My guy. 16.
That's very close. 17 goalies have played for the Ottawa Senators since then. Craig Anderson. I'm not going to name them all, but Craig Anderson deserves probably the biggest apologies. So out of those 17 goalies, the 3 best save percentages are goalies who have played 3 or less games.
Yeah.
That's kind of telling, no? That it's like, hey, give me a larger sample size and everyone will come back to reality. Out of goalies who have had some sort of sample size, like, it sucks that Anders Nielsen got hurt the way he did.
Yeah, especially that's the way his career ended. It's really bad. Yeah.
Yeah. So Dylan Ferguson is the best Sens goalie since the rebuild, according
And
to
they let him go. Unbelievable.
all the way to Russia with Dylan Ferguson. No, but all jokes aside, it just feels like the common denominator is not goaltending. Yeah, you'd like to have a save. That second goal last night, like, it just shouldn't go in. It was a bad goal from way far out, like a different area code. But at the same time, yeah, Forsberg was brutal against Dallas. 2 of those goals where you're like, come on, you lose by 1, you give up 2 brutal goals. But it feels like we're just looking for some reasons why. And if the reasons are different every night, you have to kind of look to the common denominator through all this. And it's unfortunate and it really is. But like, what percentage of the blame, as we get into the blame game, would you put on the goaltending here over this last stretch?
I mean, yeah, we're a goalie-friendly show, but they simply haven't been good enough, right? Like, and I feel like it's classic. I get people that message me or in the chat and are like, Pilsy is way too apologetic about the goalies. And then 10 seconds later, someone will say, Pilsy's way too hard on these goalies. And there's no kind of even ground for the goaltending, but I think it's fair to say that it simply has not been good enough. Now, are they the only reason this team's losing? Absolutely not. And when you're a goalie, small mistakes look worse than if you're a player. Like, if you're a player and you miss your coverage and a guy gets past you, whatever, you go to the bench and you're out there another 5 minutes later. It's not a big deal. But if you're a goalie and you make a mistake, it's in the back of your net and that could be the end of the game. So the scrutiny on goalies is magnified that much more. Ross, I think there's not it's not one glaring, obvious thing or process that's going to change this team around. And I'm trying to find a new way to say this. It's the way that the accountability just hasn't been there. Like, why would anything change, or why would anyone feel the need to change if there's no consequence or accountability for your actions, right? These guys are still getting their paycheck. They're still...
Pride?
What pride is there in a 4-game losing streak where you're getting embarrassed night in and night out? Like, honestly, I feel like if I was a player at this point, I would almost be like hoping the coach benches me just so I can leave the game, have some space, and get pissed off and then come back, rather than just keep this moping kind of, this sucks, blah, 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 and just slogging through it. Like, at least then you have some motivation to try to be better, or to be like, I better not keep doing that. Otherwise, I'm going to keep getting benched. And same with the coaching staff. Like, this coaching staff has been around so long that I got to assume that DJ Smith has exhausted all options and all approaches that he can come up with. He's probably outsourcing ideas from other coaches. He's trying to figure out different ways he can do stuff. Like, there's only so much a guy can do. Like, it brings me back to Paul Maurice with the Jets. Paul Maurice was there so long, and he just resigns. Like, you don't see that very often. He just resigns, and then in the press conference is like, you guys might not understand this, but I got to tell you straight, there's nothing more I can do here. I've done everything I can. I've tried to get everything I can out of this core, and this is just it for me. And at some point that happens. No one, like, sure, Rod Brind'Amour has this job for life tag with him, but no one can do this for that long. Everybody has an expiration date, because you just need a fresh voice. You need a breath of fresh air. You need some new changes, just a new approach that DJ Smith and the coaching staff isn't going to be able to bring, because these players have these preconceived notions about him and all these kind of experiences and things that they've attached with him. And it's not necessarily his or the coaching staff's fault. It's just, at some point, like, where do you stop the bleeding? Where do you cut it off? And like Elliot Friedman saying, which is validating for me, because that's what I've been banging home this whole time, is Sens fans chanting "Fire DJ" and demanding change. you're going to have to switch your tune because it's not going to happen, at least not anytime soon. And for Claude Giroux, a guy with his veteran experience and that has the respect he has, to outwardly say in the media, DJ's not going anywhere, I got to think that they've had some meetings with the core leadership group and been like, look, guys, this coach is staying. So no matter how bad it gets, don't think that there's going to be a scapegoat and you're going to get a new coach here. Otherwise, Claude Giroux is not saying that in the media if he doesn't know something, right? Like, that seems like Claude wouldn't comment on so kind of boldly and bluntly. So I don't know. I'm just putting all the pieces together here, Ross, and I'm trying to warn fans. Hear my warning. It's going to get worse, and it's not going to change for a while.
Well, let's hear what the fans have to say after a quick word. You're listening to Locked On Senators, your team every day.
Today's episode is brought to you by our friends over at FanDuel. Guys, FanDuel is the official sportsbook of the Locked On Podcast Network, and for a good reason. It's America's #1 sportsbook. And right now, new customers in the U.S., they get $150 in bonus bets with any $5 money line bet that wins. That's $150 if your team wins. If you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, there's no better time to get in on the action. The app is so awesome. It's the best sportsbook app out there. I promise you. I've tried a bunch of other ones. I'm always coming back to FanDuel because it's safe, simple, secure, easy to use. For a simple guy like me, I need that. And there's a wide range of betting options, including spreads, player props, over-unders, parlays, and more. So visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and you can bet on hockey, football, college football, basketball, golf, F1, whatever you're into, you can find it on FanDuel. So check it out today, guys. FanDuel.com/lockedon. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL.
Today's episode is also brought to you by the GLEBE Central Pub. We love our friends at the GLEBE Central Pub. They are right in the heart of the Glebe at 779 Bank Street. You can head there for good times, great food, tasty drinks, and they've got the Sens Shuttle to and from the CTC for just $17 round trip. Sue leaves the Glebe Central Pub in the bus at an hour and 15 minutes before puck drop. So you get there plenty of time to get a beverage and to your seat. You can go get your tickets for $17 at theglebecentralpub.com. You go there, and when you head to the pub, let them know that you're on the shuttle. They give you the wristband. You go on there, and bang, you get dropped right back off after the game at the Glebe Central Pub. So head there, and at the Glebe Central Pub, whether it's a game day or not, you're always going to be treated like you're one of their own. You can go there and watch sports on their big screens. You can head there, their big Arsenal supporter bar at the Glebe Central Pub. You can also head there for tasty food, great drinks. They really do have an awesome atmosphere. They've got the dartboard there. They've got open mic nights. They've got live music, all sorts of great things at the Glebe Central Pub. The vibes are free at the GCP. So go visit the Glebe Central Pub, 779 Bank Street, right in the heart of the Glebe. Great food at the GCP. All right, Pillsy, here we are, a day after another loss for the Ottawa Senators. Make it 4 in a row. They took away 2 4-game losing streaks along the way from a pair of teams, and now they've got one of their own. The Senators are now 11-15-0, and they've got 2 games left on this road trip at Arizona on Tuesday night. Then on Thursday, the Ottawa Senators will take on the Avalanche in the Mile High City. Can't wait for that post-game presser. Oh, the altitude, it got us. That's why we lost the game. But don't worry, the Senators are coming home for their finale before the Christmas break, before the NHL's roster freeze. I shouldn't say before, actually, because the roster freeze actually begins while the Ottawa Senators are still on their way home. I believe it starts on Wednesday, but let me confirm that with you. But Pillsy, like the fans, we said, well, how would you fix the Ottawa Senators? And I think beyond just the typical, hey, fire the coach, the numbers don't lie. That the 3 teams that have fired their coaches so far this season, they started winning games and they started getting better goaltending. Look at Philip Gustafson's stats before and after the coaching change. It is nuts. But when we look at the blame game, I'm going to go like 20% on goaltending. I do think it's been that bad. You look at it from an expected goals against standpoint. There have been 56 goalies that have played 10 or more games this season. out of those 56 goalies, the Ottawa Senators have 2 in the bottom 10 in expected and goals saved above expected, or in this case, below expected, because Joonas Korpisalo has let in 5 more goals than the expected goals would say, and Anton Forsberg has let in 8.7 expected goals more than he should have. The only goalies that have had worse seasons, according to the advanced analytics, Stuart Skinner, -11, and Antti Ranta, who was just put on waivers yesterday. Like, this is the company that the Senators goaltending is keeping. And if you're more of a, hey, I like looking at regular save percentage, how about an 892 for Korpisalo? That's 44th among NHL goalies that have played at least 10 games. And Anton Forsberg's 876 is 54th out of 56 goalies. So they are not getting saves, but I'm going to go 20% on goaltending. I'm going to go 65% on coaching, just with a stale message. Just things are over and over again, and that to me is the common denominator. And
Math
the rest,
guy, you're at 85% right now, Ross. You got 15% to play with.
Thank you. So, I think I'm actually going to take a little bit off of coaching then. What did I say? 65, make it 55, because I think it's more than half.
Okay, so now we're at 75% total.
10% on the players, because I think the players, that might even be a little light, but I'm going to go 10% on the players as a collective.
Okay.
Because I do think the effort's there, but I think that they also need to all play to their potential. There's some guys who are coasting out there, and I don't know whether they're being told to fly by when they're not finishing checks, or if that's a strategy. So a part of the players is the coaching. So I got 15% to play with, and that 15% is going to Steve Staios and Michael Andlauer for sitting here and watching a team deteriorate into a debacle. So 15% to Andlauer and Staios, 10% to the players. We've got 55% to DJ Smith and 20% to the goaltending. That's my pie chart of blame.
Nice. We need to can someone make a pie chart for us? We're definitely more visual guys than math guys. I can't believe we just did a math segment there, Ross, and we made it through. Yeah, I mean, anytime a team is this bad, at least 10% needs to go to the players, Ross. I would probably bump the goalies up to 25%. The management, that's a big part of it too, but the issue is the management is comfortable with their stake of the blame, right? Like, the ownership and management, Ross, they would take probably 90% of that blame happily, because that's what they're doing. That's what they're deciding. They get to decide how this blame pie chart shifts, right? Like, they can take it all off coaching and put new coaching in, right? Like, they can have changes in net. They can trade players. Like, there are opportunities for them to make changes, but they simply won't at this time. There's a lot of blame to go around, Ross. I don't care how big you slice the pies here. The Ottawa Senators have baked themselves a fresh blame pie here, and there's enough slices to go around.
Yeah, other 0. I'm literally trying to make this thing right now, but I got it here. This is for all you visual learners out there. We've got the pie chart of blame here that I've created. Pills, you can create your own if you want. I had enough. Wait, now it's saying that I need to beat this ad first. What the heck is going on here? What should I blame this on? No, they're making me go through.
Oh, that was almost cool.
I know. I was trying to be a math guy, statistician right there.
Graphics
but basically, I think I'll pivot then. I'm going to pull up what the people are saying about this team, and we're just going to scroll through it as I get your final thoughts, Pilsy, because this is, we're at a time where it's like, look, people have ideas, and you can go see this whole list at Sens Central on Twitter. Like, it's a complete cleaning of house, as we've got people saying that you cannot continue on the way it is, but it's unfortunate. Ali's a great commenter. We always appreciate Ali. He's saying, play the other side of this, because it's easy to only blame the coach, and that's all the replies are going to. You need vets on your bottom 6. How do you feel about that comment?
Yeah, I mentioned it, Ross. I think a big piece that this team needs is a middle-aged veteran that is defensively minded, that can take some of the defensive and penalty killing responsibilities away from the offensive guys. Like, I love the idea that Norris, Timmy, Giroux, all those guys are killing penalties, but I mean, those shouldn't be the guys that you're looking at to shut things down here. So I would like to get a veteran bottom six guy in.
Well, one thing that's going to be coming soon is Shane Pinto. It was nice to see Shane Pinto in Ottawa. He was with Thomas Chabot at the Lansdowne Christmas market. So that means that they definitely went to the Glebe Central Pub, because that's an easy 1-2 stop. When you're at the Lansdowne Christmas market, go have a pint at the Glebe Central Pub. But seriously, yeah, I mean, what else you want us to be asking? Like, we want to know how to fix the Ottawa Senators. Woo, yeah, I'm with Nicholas Price, though. I think this might be above our pay grade, but we're looking at the people who are paid to make these decisions, and we're sitting here saying, well, what do they do? What is the answer? I got the answers, Sway.
You ain't got the answers. Yeah, a lot of these nice. A lot of these comments are talking about trading certain players, and the only thing with trading guys is you don't want to be making rash, desperate decisions when teams know you're desperate, right? Like, we've seen Pierre Dorion trade pennies on the dollar multiple times. Like, look, like the best example is this Alex DeBrincat trade. You trade what, a 7th overall, a 2nd, and a 3rd, was it, for DeBrincat? What was the?
Yeah.
And then you get a year of them, and then you get back a 1st.
It's going to be 30. It's going to be in the 20s for sure, because that's going to be Boston's pick. They're wagging again.
Yeah, true. Exactly. You get an ECHL defenseman, a 4th round pick, and Dominic Kubalik, who I don't like. I think you just dump him just as a cap dump at this point. No, like, I feel bad saying that, but he doesn't have a role or a spot, or he doesn't fill a need that this team has. I think that's the guy where you got to move Kubalik, get the cap money back, and find that defensive minded veteran player to replace him there.
Really, really tough times, but at least they've got a game tomorrow, Pilsy.
Ross, there was another car analogy there. I wonder if that was like my stuck in the mud one.
Shout out to eBay Motors. Pilsy, any final thoughts on today's show? Because I got 2 positive comments that we'll leave you with afterwards.
Classic toxic positivity from Ross. All we're doing is talking about positivity on this show, and your last 2 comments are positivity. Just blind optimism. Elite Sens brain over there. Look, pessimistic Pilsy's in the house. I think you guys probably could tell that. As I mentioned on Twitter, I spiral out of control in segment 1 of a Monday episode. That's never a good sign. So my final thoughts are, we're in this together, guys. As the great philosophers of GOB once said, I may be a loser, but at least I'm not alone. Thank you guys for walking with us through this miserable holiday time as an Ottawa Senators fan.
Yeah, that's pretty much what it comes down to right now, Pilsy. And it is coming to a point where it's almost the expectation versus like a disappointment each and every loss. But my positive sandwich here, and we mentioned it on the postcast, and that was a support group. That was a support group last night. Over 400 people, and the average view time was over half an hour. Like, people are dialed into this team still. And
as we said, we were running out of ways to talk about how much this team sucks. So we brought on some of the community's favorites. Our guy Kevin was in the house. He read off one of his tweets to try to bring some hope into this world. And then Dr. Bob, when you're sick, you need a doctor. Doctor, give me the needle. Dr. Bob tries to figure things out too. So if you missed that postcast live, you missed a good one, but go check it out today.
Absolutely. And stick taps are in order for 2 guys. One, Ridley Gregg gets his first goal since coming back. It was a span of 8 games without one for Ridley Gregg. I thought he's been playing well, so nice to see him get rewarded. One of the other bright spots, if we're punting on this year, as sad as that is to say, is next year Ridley Gregg is still on his entry-level contract, and he's been a bright spot for the Ottawa Senators this season. And my final thought is shout out to Angus Crookshank. Not many players have worked harder than him to get their first NHL game. 5th round draft pick, the same draft as Brady Tkachuk. Like, Brady's going on to his 6th season pretty much, I feels like, and hasn't sniffed playoffs, but that's another story. But for Angus Crookshank, starting his pro career with a very offensively gifted time since coming out of college, then the next year doesn't even get to start the year, complete torn knee. And what does he do? He battles back in the gym, comes back, leads Belleville in goals last year, is leading them in points this year, and earns his first NHL game. So I just want to end off the show by saying that is a guy that you look towards and you say, hey, this guy gets it. He gets it. He knows the grind, and you could tell how appreciative he was of it in his pregame comments. And hell, Pillsy, he looked good out there. 3 hits, and he was banging bodies and making plays. He almost scored too.
Yeah, Crooker looked great. I'm glad you did bring that up. That is something positive. He's been a guest on the show multiple times, friend of the show. We got to get Crooker back on to talk about this experience once he's got time. But yeah, that's the thing, Ross. This team and franchise may not be great, but one thing that remains true, whether it's the fans in the community or the players themselves, there's a lot of good people that we're cheering for in the Ottawa Senators realm here, and Crooker's certainly one of them. So you love to see him get that opportunity.
TSN 1200 just tweeting out the Senators will practice at 1 p.m. Eastern. So stay tuned for updates here at Sens Central on Twitter. Today we say goodbye for Brandon Pillar. I'm Ross Levitan. This has been the Locked On Senators podcast, your team every day.